Hello, my name is Christie Arkovich, and I am a Tampa student loan attorney. And I know there's a lot of confusion on the web about repay and whether a spouse's income will count towards that income-driven plan payment. We expect in August for the pause to end or thereafter if it for some reason is extended. And the repay provision, the IDR plan called repay, is the normal 10% plan. It's what a lot of folks were on throughout the last since 2010 or so. But basically, it did not allow someone to exclude their spouse's income, regardless of how you filed your taxes. So we would normally suggest that someone go on IBR, income-based repayment. It's a slightly higher payment because of the discretionary earnings. It's 15% rather than 10, but it allowed you to not count a spouse's income, which was particularly important for those making, when their spouse ended up making more money or the same, and it boosted their student loan payment up quite a bit. So there's some confusion online because the older repay program did not allow you to do that. You could not file a separate return, exclude your spouse's income. But under the revised repay, which they're putting out right now, it's under a comment review period. It's expected to be final in July. You will be allowed to file a separate tax return and exclude your spouse's income. So for those of you who would want to take advantage of that, that's important to know because you have to know how to file your taxes this year here in April. So let's say that you file joint here in April. You can no longer amend. I mean, all along, you can't amend to change that. You can't later file separate in order to exclude your spouse's income on a student loan payment if the pause does indeed expire. But you could do the reverse. You could file separate, okay? And then if it turns out that the pause doesn't matter, you basically don't need to make a student loan payment. We still have no student loan payments due. You filed separate for nothing. Maybe it costs you a little bit extra taxes to do that. You could amend your tax return to go back and file joint. Now, when I'm saying this, I'm not an accountant. I'm not a tax advisor. I know enough to get myself in trouble, just like everybody else. But that's what I've been told, is that you can amend your tax return. I think it's up to 3 years or so, but you might want to check that. And that you can go ahead and amend it from separate to joint, but you can't, for student loan purposes, go joint to separate. So do keep that in mind when you're filing your taxes here in April. If you think you're going to have a student loan payment due, you might want to consider filing separate if you're going to be on the repay income-driven plan. Now, some advantages of repay is that it's expected to be lower in payment than what any of the other ones are. And the reason for that is twofold. One is it's counting only for discretionary earnings 5%. In other words, the payment that you're going to make is 5% of your discretionary earnings for undergrad loans and 10 for grad. Let's say you have a little bit of both. They'll be weighted. So if you're 50-50, it'd be right smack in the middle, 7.5%, somewhere in there. And the other reason is because they're counting a higher poverty level. So for expenses, for income-driven plans, they don't let you use individual expenses. Let's say you have a certain medical procedure or a mortgage payment or something like that. They don't let you count that. Instead, they use a poverty standard. And so the different plans have different expense ratios that they use. One of the reasons ICR is not very good is it only uses 100% of poverty level, which is a lower number. Repay and most of the others, including ICR and IBR, use 150. Well, now the new repay is going to use 225%. So as you can see, it used to do 150. Now it's 75 more, 225%. So that in and of itself is going to allow for a much lower payment. Overall, bottom line, you can expect a repay payment to be roughly about a third of what it once was. At least that's what we're hearing. We need to do quite a few more tests to see. The loan simulator that is available on studentaid.gov presently has the old repay in it, so you won't be able to use it to check and see what your likely payment would be. The other programs you could see, IBR, ICR, they're all accurate, but repay will not be that when it comes out. So I hope this has been helpful. Again, there is a way to exclude your spouse's income, but you have to file a separate return. You cannot amend to go back and change it after the fact. So if you have any questions, please reach out to us. We do consultations. If you have any questions and you need a one-on-one type of thing, a review of your student loans, make sure you're doing the right thing. The best thing possible for you. Our best way to reach us is info@ChristieArkovich.com. We also have a phone number office number of 813-258 2808. And lastly, please hit subscribe down below. We do these videos to try to get information out about the new programs, what's going on, how to best to utilize them. And we try to do so from an advocacy point of view. In other words, not just reciting something that you can easily read on Google, but trying to say, here's where it might apply, here's who it might apply to, here's how long it might take, that sort of thing. So please subscribe so we can continue to do this, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you.